Yo, what's up, guys? We're here with our new podcast. We're going to be talking about Thor. Just came out on Friday. We hit up Jesse. Maybe Jesse will jump on later. We're not sure yet. We'll be going full spoilers on this podcast. So if you guys haven't seen it, don't listen to it. Or don't listen to us. Come back later. But go see it as soon as you can because it's great. But we're going to be talking about the whole thing and what we thought about it and what's going on from the comics and stuff. So full spoilers is our last warning. So what's up, Brian? What's going on?
Hey, not much. I've been having a pretty busy weekend. So I went to watch the movie on Saturday, and I've been playing Assassin's Creed Origins since I got the game. So I've been pretty busy with that, and just got home from a few hours ago from watching the epic showdown between Drew Stanton versus CJ Beathard. So
That's the matchup of the year, I think.
Matchup of the year.
Yeah.
I was thinking before the game, I'm like, which is gonna be worse, that or Jacoby Brissett and
Tom Savage.
Tom Savage. But, I saw the highlight for the game, and that one looked pretty good.
Yeah.
So it was actually better than the Cardinals Niners game.
Yeah. Yeah, Brady versus Rodgers. Who needs that? You have CJ and Drew.
Yeah.
Good thing is, by the time I get up there in December, Jimmy will be playing. And hopefully that gives us a spark.
Yeah, I'll just sidetrack and talk about the football part really quick. Yeah, you're right. Like I was thinking about because the coach was saying they're probably not going to play him at all this year, but it doesn't make sense to not get any looks at him before they go into the off season. So
yeah, you have to. Being a free agent, you got to see what he's got, and so I think he'll have 6 games. He'll have 6 games to check him out and see if they want to keep him and stuff. So they better. I don't want to go up there and watch CJ. Right. The Niners are 0-12 by that point or something.
Yeah.
Saw that today, and then you saw the movie yesterday, right?
Right.
So overall, what'd you think of the movie overall?
I thought it was good. I like that they took the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of angle, made it a lot lighter and more comedy. I've talked to you before, like the first Thor movie was one of the movies I would put on the bottom of all the Marvel movies, next to Iron Man 2. So this one was a lot better. I like the direction that they took. If it was more serious, then I probably wouldn't like it as much again. But this one was pretty entertaining. They brought in the Hulk, so it's kind of like a joint movie versus it's just all Thor, And I also like a little cameo with Doctor Strange. I thought that was really it was a surprise. So pretty entertaining overall. So I liked it. I was surprised in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, I was pretty hyped for this movie. But yeah, I wanted to see how it turned out because the director, his name is Taika Waititi, is known more for comedies. He's a comedic guy, so to see him take over, a Marvel movie, I was pretty confident because they did it before. They did it with Ant-Man. Peyton Reed took over. He was a comedian, or not a comedian, but he was a comedy guy, and Ant-Man worked out just fine. The guys who did Winter Soldier and Civil War, they came from the show Community, so I knew. I mean, I was pretty confident, but still, you want to see how is this style going to work. And it came out really, really good. I mean, like you said, they went full on comedy. And you mentioned the first Thor movie. I thought the second Thor movie was even worse. The Dark World. Mm-hmm. That one was too serious and a little bit of comedy in there, but the comedy seemed kind of forced at times. But it was really dark, really serious, and it was that's for me. That one is on the bottom too. That one and Iron Man 2 are down there. And so this one, they said, know what? We're going to go full on ridiculous. We're going to make it goofy. We're going to make it fun, over the top. And it worked. And that's the thing. It was a fun movie, right? It's 2 hours of just having a good time, laughing. You're laughing. The action scenes are great. The characters are great. The new characters they brought in are really good. Everything was just fun. I really can't see anyone going in there and coming out going, it's okay. I don't see how that's possible. It's just really, really great movie, and I like that they took the big risk by hiring that director and going a different way. I mean, I'm pretty sure they will bring him back. The movie opened up huge. I think it beat expectations. I think it was projected to make 120 million and ended up getting closer to 140. They do some guessing and stuff. They're assuming it'll finish somewhere between 800 and 900 million. So I mean, that's a huge hit. So I'm sure this guy will be back at
Yeah.
some point, and I hope so. I mean, it's a fresh set of eyes, fresh set of talent in there. So I really liked it. It's like I said, it's a lot of fun. Everybody needs to go check it out. I didn't see it in 3D, but you did, Brian. You said it actually looked pretty cool, right?
Yeah. A lot of the action scenes, it looks a lot better in 3D. I mean, I didn't compare it to 2D because I didn't watch it in 2D, but there are a lot of scenes where, like when they're standing on that bridge, you can see how far away the other characters are. Like, and they do a lot of these really far shots, and the 3D really gives it a lot of depth. So like you can see how far away they really are. I'm guessing in 2D it's a little bit more flat, so everything's just there. So you mentioned that you watched it twice this weekend, right? So if you have a chance to watch it again, like check it out in 3D. I think you'll enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah, I saw the first Thor. Now that I think about it, I saw the first Thor way back. I saw that one in 3D,
Uh-huh.
and that one looked cool. Like just when they were on Asgard and had the shots going over the city. You got the depth in there, and then some of the fight scenes. I didn't see the second one in 3D, but I know the first one looked cool. So, and then while I was watching this movie, there were certain scenes I was like, you know what, that would look cool in 3D. This would look cool in 3D. So I figured, yeah, this one probably would have been worth it. Because I know some movies you go see in 3D and it's not worth it.
Right.
This one though looked like it would be pretty good.
Yeah, and there's some fight scenes where they kind of like zoom in really close. So it's not like, the 3D movie nowadays, they don't pop out of the screen like they used to, right? It's more of just giving like a feel of like how far and how close things are. So yeah, it does give like another added effect to watching the movie. So yeah, I highly recommend it for anyone who watched it in 2D, plan to watch it again, watch it in 3D like the next time.
Yeah, and another thing I like about this movie is that because it's so funny, people who don't normally watch these movies, they don't know anything about Marvel, they don't know anything about superhero movies, they don't know anything about Thor. They're gonna like this movie just because it's so funny, which
Yeah.
I think is really cool. We went with some friends who weren't really that familiar with the other stuff, and I told them beforehand, I was like, because they hadn't seen the first two Thors, and I was like, don't worry about it. It's not. I'm pretty sure it's not gonna be really important. And sure enough, it wasn't. And they had a great time. They loved it. They loved the characters, and want to see it again. They want to see them characters come back. And they brought in Jeff Goldblum, who was freaking hilarious. He was just super weird alien guy. He called the Grandmaster. He's just super funny. There was a character named Korg, who was played by the director himself, and this big rock alien guy. But speaking of people who don't know much about Thor, I know you're not familiar with the Thor, the comics, or anything like that. So I'm sure you have some questions, right? That coming out of this movie.
Yeah. So before I ask the questions, yeah. So I watched the movie with Connie, and she didn't watch any of those Thor movies, and she really enjoyed this one too. She did watch the Avengers movie where Thor was in it. So for those who didn't watch the first two, it's probably okay if you don't watch it at all, and you can just skip it. And if you watch the Avengers movies, then that's probably enough to be familiar with the characters. So.
Yeah, I think of watching Avengers 1 and 2 is probably more important than watching Thor 1 and 2. You don't really need to see those.
Yeah. And like I think they found a pretty good formula now, right? Like making these movies more comedic. So it's not all serious, and that's one of the complaints I have with the DC movies, where it's so dark and serious that it kind of like turns off some of the viewer, like some of the audience, unless they're just hardcore comic book fans. So like this kind of movie, it kind of appeals to everyone, and they have superpowers, so they can do more things to add to the comedic effect. So yeah, it's pretty good.
So what did you want to ask? I know you probably have a couple questions.
Okay. So the first one, I did some reading afterwards, and they mentioned the Warrior 3. Did I get that right?
Yeah, the Warriors 3. Yeah.
Warriors 3. So who are they? And like, yeah, maybe you can just go into a little background of who they are, and like what and like how it happens in the movie, how they were portrayed in the movie.
Yeah, you have Volstagg, Fandral, and Hogun, and they're like Thor's buddies. There's like he grew up with them, and they're like his drinking battle buddies. They would go drink and then go fight and stuff. You had the Warriors 3, then you also had Lady Sif. They were all grew up together. They would just go all on Thor's adventures. You saw them a lot in the first Thor. They were a pretty big part of the first Thor movie. Second one, not quite as much. And then in this one, Lady Sif wasn't in the movie at all. The reason behind that is that she has her own, the actress Jamie Alexander has her own show on NBC called The Blind Spot. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't film this one. The scheduling conflicts. They were filming like the exact same time. So she had to pass on this movie, which sucks because she's a cool character too.
Yeah.
So she wasn't in at all. And then because of that, they kind of downplayed the other three and actually killed them off pretty quick in the movie. Hela comes in, who's played by Cate Blanchett, and she's fucking badass in this movie.
Yeah.
So, man, she came in and just, I mean, I was looking for, when she signed on, I was like, holy shit, Cate Blanchett signed on to play in the Thor movie? That's insane. She was Oscar. I think she's won an Oscar, but super highly respected actress signing on. I couldn't wait to see what she did, and man, she was awesome. So she shows up on shows up on Asgard when Odin dies. Odin dies, and he turns out that he's been keeping her at bay. She was so dangerous that he exiled her and kept her away. So when he died, that let her loose type thing, and she came to reclaim Asgard. In the movie they made her Thor's older sister, which actually makes her next in line. In the comics, she's actually Loki's daughter. But yeah, that wouldn't really work in the movie, in the cinematic universe. So they made her a hidden sister, which is still cool. That works. The story works, and so she comes to claim her throne. So she shows up in Asgard. She kills Volstagg and Fandral really quick, and then Hogun puts up a fight. He rallies the armies and tries to fight her, and she just wrecks them all and kills him too. But yeah, the main reason why they were wiped out so fast is that Lady Sif couldn't be in the movie, so they were like, well, if she's not in it, then let's get, they can't really focus on the other three too much without her. So that was the reason why they got killed so fast. And then also too, the director said that he wanted to show how dangerous she really was, and those three warriors are really strong, and by her just killing them super fast, it established how powerful she was, right away. But yeah, that's who the Warriors 3 are, and what happened to them in the movie.
Yeah, one of the biggest complaints about the Marvel movies is their villains, right? And I think they did a pretty good job with this one. She actually had a purpose. Like there was one part towards the end where she's going after all the refugees that are hiding, but they kind of added another element to it where she's actually looking for the sword. She doesn't care too much about all those people that are hiding. It's just that they happen to be where the sword is, so that's why she's there. So I think like in the past movies, they could have just had her waste her time like trying to look for these refugees for no reason, and they would make that as part of like to show how evil the villain is. But from the viewer's point of view, it's kind of weak. But this time she the sword was stolen, so she can't go to other planets and take over. So it adds to the character, versus before. And yeah, and she just kicks ass too, so hopefully this is a start, in the next movie with the Black Panther with Michael B. Jordan and Infinity War with Thanos. I think they're gonna start focusing more on the villains, and I think it'll be good. It's not just like all on the main characters, all the good guys, and like kind of brushing aside the villains.
Yeah, she had a I guess her motivation was a little bit more, I don't want to say believable, obviously it's fantasy, but right. It was like, this is my throne, I want it. I could care less about the people. I'm just taking what's mine, and I'm just gonna wreck shop. She's been in prison for who knows how long, hundreds or thousands of years, and she's just pissed.
Okay, so the next question is where the guy like from, I guess it's like hell, the guy that's on fire, and he destroys Asgard in the end. Is that from the comic books, or is that kind of like a way for the movie to kind of move away from Asgard and have all the people on Earth so they don't have to CGI the planet of Asgard?
No, that's from the comic, yeah. And so there's a story called Ragnarok. It was like in 2004, and in that series, the end of the Ragnarok had started, and it was gonna be the end of the gods. Thor finds out that it's a never-ending cycle for the gods. Surtur comes. There's Ragnarok. He kills everyone. Everyone's reborn, and it just keeps going in a circle, in a circle, in a circle. And so he, in order to end that cycle, instead of fighting Surtur, he just lets him destroy everything. And rather than saving Asgard and all the gods dying and stuff, he just said, you know what? Fuck it, destroy Asgard. We'll just leave Asgard. And so that was from the comics. Actually, they destroyed Asgard, and spoilers, but in the comics they actually relocate in Oklahoma. They build a new Asgard in Oklahoma, so they live on Earth for a while, for a long time. They're on Earth before reestablishing. They call it New Asgard, or no, Asgardia. They created a new Asgardia up out in space again, but for a while they were on Earth. So yeah, I was actually surprised they kept to the story, not completely. Like Hela wasn't a part of it, the Hulk wasn't part of it, but a lot of elements from that story they kept. So Surtur killing everybody, Asgard being destroyed, Thor losing his eye, that was from the comic too. Although in the comic it's more brutal, he actually ripped his own eye out as a way, because it was a sacrifice for knowledge. He went to in Asgard there's a thing called the Well of Knowledge, and then he requires a sacrifice. So he was trying to find a way to end the cycle, and so he had to rip his eye out and throw it in there. So it's a little more brutal. They probably wouldn't put that in a Disney movie. Thor cutting out his own eye, but he did lose his eye when she, Hela hits him with her necro blade, and it hits him in the eye. And I was like, oh, cool, that's from the comic. They didn't, but in the comic, all the Asgardians died, everybody. And then they were all reappeared in Oklahoma. So they didn't do that. They just had Asgard be destroyed, and then they're all refugees now heading to Earth. But they kept that part of it too. So I was actually pretty surprised that they stayed pretty as close as they can to the comics.
So in the movies they mentioned Ragnarok, but from my point of view, they didn't really go into much detail of really what it is. Maybe I missed it, but what is it really? So it's just that it's foretold that he would kind of destroy Asgard.
Yeah, it's basically the in Norse mythology, it's basically the apocalypse for the gods.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it is. It's the end of all things. But it's a cycle. Everything ends, and then. But I'm not an expert on Norse mythology or anything, but I think it's the end of the gods, and then there's a new generation of gods takes over. So Odin's dad before him he was a god named Bor, and he ruled. Then Ragnarok hit, and then Odin took over, and then Ragnarok, and then Thor, so and on and on and on. So yeah, that's and it's always Surtur. Surtur's always the one to end it. He's the one that always causes Ragnarok, and then everything, he burns everything, and then everyone's reborn again, and it just starts up again.
Okay, so what about Hulk being in there? So before that, I thought it was a little bit far fetched where they're going through the portal, and Loki gets kicked out, and then 30 seconds later, Thor gets kicked out of there. They should be in completely different places, right? But they end up in the same place. And Hulk happens to be in the same planet too. What are the odds that all three of them would be reunited back in the same planet? So I thought that was a little bit far-fetched, since if you think about space, it's almost infinite, right? But they all happen to be back in the same place.
Yeah, that one they didn't even really try to explain it, huh? They were like, Sakar's just they kind of call it a trash planet. Mm-hmm. It's just a planet. There's a bunch of you see a bunch of wormholes in the sky, and it's just a planet that when people fall through wormholes and they just end up there. And that's pretty much all I think that's as far as they went as explaining. They were like, yeah, it's a trash planet, and that's it. So okay, right. You just buy it.
That's okay. That's not a big deal, but I just thought I'm just thinking more space and all that stuff.
Yeah, that was just their it's just it's a trash planet, things land on here. Then they even showed it in the movie, right? When they're out in the wasteland area, things are just falling from the sky, just trash. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. It's just the dump. It's the dump of the universe. Everything just ends up there.
So they bring in Hulk into this movie. So I'm guessing it's two separate stories that they merge into one, right? Because I've seen the animated version of Planet Hulk where he fights in the arena. But he fights against the other character that looks like Thor. You mentioned his name earlier, before we started.
Oh, Beta Ray Bill?
Beta Ray Bill. And I just remember in the cartoon, he sees Hulk and he just takes off and he just leaves. So that was pretty funny. But so I'm guessing that it's two separate stories that they merge into one in the movie, right?
Yeah, they merge. Yeah, it's like it's basically it's the two big ones are Ragnarok and then Planet Hulk, but they couldn't do Planet Hulk fully because it's a Thor movie, right?
Yeah.
So they changed elements around and kept the basis of it. But Beta Ray Bill. So actually, in the comic, Hulk lands on Sakaar. They make him the Gladiator, kind of like Thor in the movie. He becomes like the champion and stuff. And in the comic, they bring in the Silver Surfer. Actually, they're like, "Oh, we have a new contender for you," and it's the Silver Surfer. In the animated movie we saw, this is where things get complicated. In the animated movie you saw, there was rights issues with using the Silver Surfer in the animated movie. I don't know why. I don't know the details. So they had to swap them out, and they used Beta Ray Bill. They actually had. I don't know if you noticed, but on the I think it was the Grandmaster, his tower. He had like you can see his face, right? Yeah. So that's kind of like his little cameo. The director said they did at one point have him in the movie, but it was such a small part. They were like, you know what? He's a big character. Just to throw him into the movie for like 10 minutes is not worth it. Like, it'd be a waste.
Yeah.
So they were like, he's a big important character, so they pulled him out. And then, so they didn't say if they would bring him back in the next ones or not. But I have a feeling they will, because if you already had him, they were going to put him in at this point. They're going to do it later. And Beta Ray Bill, for those who don't know, is he was an alien, and he was the guardian of his people. Thor ran into him. They were flying a ship, and they were all in cryo sleep. I don't remember how Thor ended up on the ship, but he did. And Beta Ray Bill he woke up, and then he fought Thor, not knowing who he was, and was able to lift the hammer. Thor was like, "What the hell?" And he was worthy. He was a noble warrior who only lived to protect his people, so he was deemed worthy. So he took the hammer. Him and Thor went on some adventures and stuff, and Odin was so impressed that he gave him his own hammer called Stormbreaker, and gave him the power of Thor in his own way. And he protects he's a cosmic character. He's in the sky and stuff, and he's kind of like, he kind of refers to Thor, like they kind of refer to each other as brothers. So he's a big character. He's a big ally to Thor in the comics, and it'd be cool to see him. It'd be cool to see him in the movies, because he has such a unique look. He has like a horse face. His head. He has like a horse head, and he's huge, and it's just and he's a cool character too. He's a real noble character, and he's always there for Thor. He's always down to fight and stuff. So yeah, he's pretty cool.
Okay, so
but real quick too, that Planet Hulk movie, the animated movie, is really cool. So if you listeners haven't seen that movie, check it out. It's really cool, and it's the full story of Planet Hulk, which they touched on in the movie. So if you like the movie, you'll like the animated movie.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So that's the only part where he's fighting in the arena. That's the only thing they took from that, right? From Planet Hulk in the movie, or was there something else that I missed?
Yeah, pretty much the Gladiator arena, and then Korg and Meek were from Planet Hulk. And that's pretty much it. The Grandmaster wasn't in it. It was a character called the Red King. That's pretty much it. Was them, and the Planet Sakaar. That was all. So the Planet Sakaar, the Gladiator arena, and then Korg and Meek are from Planet Hulk.
So in the movie, like Thor's hammer is destroyed. Does that happen in the comics? And if yes, like does he get a new one later, or he just goes on without one?
Yes, it happens in the comics. And yes, he does get a new one. I forget which story it happens where his hammer breaks, but Odin would always give him a new one. It always happened. It's happened a couple times. This will be interesting to see because Odin's not around anymore.
Right.
He dies in this movie, so there's no one to make a new one. So I'm actually interested to see what they do to bring this hammer back. And they don't have to, but I think the scene that everyone, a lot of Avengers fans and stuff, the scene that everyone wants to see is Captain America lift the hammer, right? Mm-hmm. They hinted at it in Age of Ultron and stuff. So that's
Did he try in the movie when they were like all hanging out?
Yeah, they're hanging out, and he kind of grabs it and he moves it just a little.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Yeah, and Thor's like, what? So in the comics, he lifts it. He lifts it a couple of times. And so I think everyone wants to see that in the movie. So I want to see. So I have a feeling they're going to bring it back. It's just I don't know how. I don't know how they're going to do it. Because in the comics, it was always Odin who did it, who brought it back. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he makes his new one on his own. They bring in another Asgardian later. I'm not really sure.
The only way I can see that happening now is like if Doctor Strange does something.
Yeah, maybe they use the time stone.
Yeah.
To bring it back, which I mean you can do that. They showed it in the last one. He can reforge objects and stuff using the time stone. So hey, yeah, maybe they use one of the Infinity Stones to do it. Mm-hmm. That's another thing I like too about this movie is that I always felt Thor was nerfed pretty hard in the movies. He was always really the most powerful Avenger in the comics, and in the movies you don't really get that. You can see he has power, but not really. And this one they really upped his power, especially at the end when in the final battle when he's talking to he has that vision of Odin. Odin tells him the hammer wasn't your power, you're the power. And he seemed to realize like, oh shit, and he comes down and that final scene was awesome. Remember he jumps down and lightning is just coming off of him?
Yeah.
And he's just fighting, he's shooting lightning out of his fingers and his eyes are glowing and he punches people and there's lightning everywhere and I'm like, yes, finally. In my head I was like geeking out like, yes, this is what I want to see. I've been waiting for this. Since the first Thor movie, they really upped his power and they really showed how powerful he really is. So yeah, that was awesome. That was an unexpected surprise. I wasn't honestly expecting that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It just reminded me of like Raiden or something, like one of these like other characters that have electricity. So like in going back to video games, like Destiny, like all the warlocks, they have this sub job or like subclass where they shoot electricity just like him. So it reminded me of that. But yeah, it was really cool to see him have more powers than just throwing the hammer around. Because in the in the other movies that they kind of made that as his power, not really his own physical strength or anything like that. And that one part where he like knocks the Hulk, across the arena, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, what the hell? Like,
yeah.
He's really that powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're like, who's this guy? And then boom, it's like, oh shit. And then there's also like you said, when he throws a hammer and it's going around in a circle, like just to see that hammer used in cool stuff in cool new ways. So that's another reason I want to see that hammer come back. It's like, okay, can you push on that even more?
Yeah. So this is more minor, but like the scene where he's like he's with Doctor Strange, the hammer turns into like he converts it into an umbrella.
Yeah.
Is that just some cloak thing that they do, just like their outfits?
Yeah. In the comics, he it wasn't an umbrella; it was a cane.
Okay.
He had a human form who had a limp. He was kind of maimed, and so and then he would walk with a cane. Then he would slam the cane on the floor, and then he would turn into Thor. So that was actually a cool nod to the comics too. That when he had the umbrella and he slammed it on the floor like that, and they turned to the. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's cool. So that was something that was actually in the comics for a long time.
Okay. So was there anything else that I think that's all I could think of right now? But is there anything else I missed that you picked up that was more in the comics that they mentioned in the movie?
No, I think that's pretty much it. In this movie, and they after the movie ended, if you stuck around to the mid-credit scene, you saw the big ship, right? When Thor and Loki are talking.
Yeah.
And then that big ship comes in front of them. That was Thanos' ship. And me and my roommate were talking about it. And I think what happened is, remember when Loki's running he has Surtur's crown in the throne room? And he runs past the Tesseract and he gives it a glance.
Right. So you think he picked it up?
Yeah, I think he grabbed it. And that's why Thanos shows up at the end. Two things. One, either Thanos is tracking it. He knew it was in Asgard and couldn't really do anything about it. And now that it's out, he went to go grab it. Or Loki contacted him. Because he hired him in Avengers to get that for him. And he never did. So, I'm thinking, yeah. I
forgot about that.
Yeah, so it's one or the other. It's either Thanos is just making his move on it now that it's out in the open. Or Loki contacted him is going to betray Thor again. Or maybe not betray him, but like leave my people alone. Here's the Tesseract, like a trade. So, but I do think that's why Thanos. I think that's for sure why Thanos shows up is because Loki has a Tesseract, and that will lead into the Infinity War.
Yeah. So I like that. When Hela was in that throne room and she sees the Infinity Gauntlet, she just knocks it over and says it's fake.
Yeah.
At first, it kind of caught me by surprise. I'm like, what is fake? And then, I remember that he already has the gauntlet in his hands. So, they showed it in the previous Thor movies.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. They showed it in the first Thor as like an Easter egg, and it's actually come back to bite them because it's like, Odin has the Infinity Gauntlet. And then you see the other movies, Thanos has the gauntlet and he's searching for the stone. So it's like, wait a minute.
Right.
In the first movie, so they threw as an Easter egg and then they were kind of like, oh shit. I mean, obviously they didn't know where they were going with the story at the time.
Yeah.
Avengers didn't come out for another year. So that was their way of kind of fixing that. Like, yes, we know it's there. This is it's just a fake trophy. So that's why they threw that in there.
Yeah. So, so there's only one more movie in between, from Thor to Infinity War. That's the Black Panther. So I'm curious to see, what happens in there to kind of like finally link everything together. So maybe I'm changing the
No, it's that was a good question too. I was thinking the same thing. Will Black Panther have anything to do with Infinity War, or will it be its own self-contained story? I'm actually not sure yet, because there still is one more stone that they haven't found yet. I doubt it'll be in Black Panther, because it's not a cosmic story in any way. Maybe they'll do something in the end credits. I'm not really sure. I really want to see if that does lead into Infinity War, or if Infinity War picks up from this one. I actually don't know. That's actually a good question. I was thinking the same thing too. I was like, well, will Black Panther tie in, or is it just a cool Black Panther solo story? I don't really know. And Black Panther, by the way, looks super cool. Like that, every time I see those trailers, I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so dope.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, so like I'm looking at, remember the trailer from D23 where Thor is just floating in space. So I thought the movie would end with that happening, but it didn't. It ended on like a high note. So maybe that's just something happens in the beginning of the movie where he ends up getting beat up, or it could be like like what you just mentioned about the ship showing up, right? Maybe he gets beat up or gets betrayed by Loki and gets tossed into space, and that's how he runs into the Guardians.
The Guardians, yeah. I wonder if they're going to show that, or if that would be like off screen.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be cool to show it, right?
Right.
Like they're like, what the hell?
Just to show how powerful he is, right? Like
yeah.
in the beginning of the movie or something.
Yeah. So if Thanos shows up and then he just wipes out Thor. After they just upped his Thor's power level, and then Thanos just wipes him out. Like, oh man, like dude, how powerful is this guy? And that was actually kind of like, I was actually waiting for that too, because I saw the trailer online later of Thor floating in space. I'm like, oh shoot, when's Thanos coming? When's he gonna? And then the movie ended, and I'm like, well. And then they show the mid scene. I go, okay, there'll probably be something in the Avengers that'll lead up to that scene. But that's in I think Black Panther's in February. Avengers, I think, is either May or June. So it's like, oh man, damn it. We have some stuff coming up. We have Punisher comes out in I believe 2 weeks. Let me see. Next Friday. So yeah, about 2 weeks. We have the Punisher Netflix series, and then Justice League comes out that same day. You gonna be there, Brian? Midnight showing?
Well, I don't think I've watched any of these. Well, except for Wonder Woman. Yeah, I usually skip these DC movies until later. Yeah, and I'll wait for the reviews too.
Yeah.
Like Superman, I didn't watch any of them. Only the first one in the theater. Like the second one, I just waited because just from all the bad stuff I've heard.
Yeah. What about Suicide Squad?
Oh no, I watched it on the plane. So I didn't even bother renting it or doing anything to watch it. I just saw it on the plane, and yeah, the movie looked really dumb. So.
I don't know. I'm not sure about Justice League. It was kind of funny in the theater. They showed, since this was a huge release, you had like Black Panther trailer, you had the Star Wars trailer, all the huge trailers, and all of them, they all got a reaction like, oh shit, oh that looks cool. And then when Justice League trailer showed, no one said anything.
Just quiet,
It's
right?
quiet. It's just like,
Yeah,
it's cool, whatever. So I'm not saying that no one in the world is hyped for it because I know there are people that are.
yeah.
Um, I'm not really hyped for it. I wish I was. I mean, I love Batman. I love Superman. I've been reading those comics since I was a kid. I've been reading Justice League for 20 years now. But the movie just doesn't look exciting. And then you had all the behind the scenes stuff with Zack Snyder stepping down and Josh Whedon coming in, and there's supposed to be small reshoots. Turns out there was a ton of reshoots. They rescored the whole movie. Yeah, so now I'm just like, man, I don't know how that can translate to a good movie that, the series has a history of not being good. So, let's see, that's 4 movies previously, only one good one in Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Man of Steel was okay. BBS sucked and Suicide was junk. So I can't be like, oh yeah, it's gonna be sick. I just know it. They're gonna get it this time. Like, no, I don't see it. I'm just not excited for it. The villain is, I don't know why they're doing this either. Darkseid is the big villain in the DC universe. He's kind of like the Thanos of that universe.
Yeah.
And they're not bringing in Darkseid. They have another guy named Steppenwolf who's kind of like his top general. And I'm just like, that's kind of, I'm thinking it's a mistake because Thanos is going to come out. And when Darkseid comes out, they think, oh, DC ripped off Marvel, a similar villain. Oh, he's like a Thanos ripoff.
Yeah.
Even though in the comics, Darkseid was first. So I think they're kind of doing themselves a disservice. They could have had Darkseid premiere first. He could be out in 2 weeks. You can have Darkseid first.
Right.
And then Thanos come later. And they're not. They're doing another villain. So kind of a mistake, I think, anyway.
It's probably because they didn't build up that character. If they bring him in, people would start thinking that anyway, right? Because like at least in the other Marvel movies, they kind of show like Thanos a little bit. So yeah, at least kind of have an idea of who he is, even though you don't like for the non-comic book readers, you don't know like how powerful he is, but at least you kind of see him, right? Whereas the DC one, they're just gonna throw in a guy that looks very similar. But you're right though. Like if the viewers don't know anything about DC or Marvel and they watch Justice League, they would think that DC would have the jump on this kind of character, right? But yeah, they did. Like you said, they didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah,
maybe they're just afraid of like what they did with like Green Lantern. They spent so much money. If they bring this kind of character in, they're gonna have to CGI the hell out of it, and maybe they're just afraid of like spending all this money, and then if the movie flops or whatever, then they're gonna lose tons of money again.
Yeah. I kind of thought the same thing with when Green Lantern came out, and it bombed so hard, right? And then the Nova Corps in the Guardians movies are a straight ripoff of the Green Lantern Corps. Straight ripoff. In the comics, they're exactly the same. However, the Nova Corps is way cooler than the Green Lantern Corps in the movies. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of worried, like, oh, maybe people would think that, oh, the Green Lantern Corps ripped off the Nova Corps, but that hasn't really happened. It's just, I think because Green Lantern's been around so long, people already know. So we'll see what happens with Darkseid and Thanos.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like a lot of the hardcore DC fans are not that into this movie. Like there's not that much excitement about it. So like for you to not be that excited about it, it's pretty surprising, right? And it's revealing like where Warner Brothers has taken the direction of these movies.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I should be excited. It's Justice League. Like I should be like, yeah, Justice League, here we go. And I'm like, I don't know. Punisher's coming out that day. I think we'll watch Punisher.
But you're still planning to watch it like opening weekend, right? Just not right away, or you're planning maybe just skip it and wait till it comes out on video.
No, I'll probably see it the following weekend because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be watching Punisher.
Okay.
That weekend, so I think I'm gonna be watching Punisher that whole weekend, and then probably the next weekend I'll go. I mean, that's a good thing about I signed up for Movie Pass, so
yeah.
The good thing with Movie Pass is that I can go to as many movies as I want. So it's not I'm not like spending extra money to go see it. It's just a matter of me going, should I go see it? Should I go see it today or should I do something else?
Yeah. Well, even if you didn't have Movie Pass, like waiting a week, well, you will know ahead of time anyway, but you would like get the early reviews, right, on how good or bad a movie is. So
Yeah, we'll know within a day. We'll know within a
yeah,
couple of days. That's another thing too is that they haven't. It's in 2 weeks and they haven't released the reviews yet,
yeah, that's always
and
bad.
that's a bad thing. That's always a bad thing. Thor released its reviews a couple weeks ahead of time, and they were great. But whenever they put an embargo, that normally means they're not confident in the movie. So maybe not this time. Maybe that's just policy. But so far, that's been true. So yeah, that's our Thor quick Thor breakdown. Final score. What would you give it out of 10? What would you be your grade?
If I'm ranking all the Marvel movies, I wouldn't put it up there. I mean, not as the highest, but I would put it kind of group it where along with like Guardians of the Galaxy, they're just like fun, entertaining movies. Yeah, I mean, so if I were to give it out of 10, I would give it like an 8 or something, which is really good. Like,
Yeah,
it's not a
yeah,
bad thing anymore. So
yeah, yeah. I was talking to a friend too that it's almost like a different section of the Marvel universe, right? Guardians, this
Ant-Man,
one,
like,
Ant Man, Spider Man. They're just fun movies. They're fun. You're gonna have a good time. They don't take themselves seriously, so it's kind of hard to rate them with the other ones, like with Winter Soldier, which is a great movie, but it's dead serious. But if I was to give it out of 10, I give it an 8. I give it an 8 too. It's a good movie. It's a good fun movie. Go see it in the theaters because go see the effects and stuff. It's totally worth it.
in terms of comic book movies, the next one is like you said, Justice League, and then Black Panther, and man, I'm looking forward to next summer.
Yeah, yeah. Next summer is gonna be good, and then I know there's some X-Men stuff coming next year too. I think Deadpool 2. I think New Mutants. It'll be out next year. So definitely a lot of cool stuff coming next year. Deadpool 2 I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward to Deadpool also. Like the New Mutants, the trailer made it look like it's a horror movie. Do you think like that's the direction that it should be going, or is it, or do you think it should be more? I don't know. Maybe it's just a trailer, right? Trailer and movie sometimes don't match.
Right, right. You know what? I didn't read a whole lot of New Mutants. I didn't start reading them until they became X-Force. I know there was some stories with like evil spirits and stuff, like demons and stuff. So I mean, I guess they're going in that direction. I didn't read that stuff. That was stuff in the mid '80s and stuff. But I mean, I like that they're going in a totally different direction. Something fresh. Let's get these X-Men characters and put them in a horror movie setting. Let's see how it goes. I'm down. I'm down to see new stuff.
What about The Gifted? Have you been watching that?
Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool story. It's set in the X-Men universe. It's not. They reference the X-Men. They reference the Brotherhood, but they've gone missing. No one really knows where they are. So you don't see the X-Men. You don't see Magneto or anything. But there's mutants. They're established characters from the comics, and the story is that these kids become their mutant powers, manifest, and so they find a mutant underground. It's a group of mutants that gets mutants out of this. They're trying to get them away from a law enforcement group called Sentinel Services, and the whole thing is to track down mutants and stuff. So they're on the run. They're hiding out from Sentinel Services, and they're trying to get them to a safe place. And it's cool. It's actually pretty cool.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. Not like Inhumans. Don't. Inhumans is the biggest piece of crap. It's so bad. Just I'm so disappointed. I don't know why they would even make it. Like, if you know the show is gonna suck like this, why are you gonna make it? It's just trash.
So has NBC ABC have they started to think about scrapping it, or I haven't heard anything new about the show. So
I think so. I think they scrapped it. I don't think there's a season 2.
okay, so they're still gonna put out the first season episodes that they already filmed.
Yeah. So next week's the last one. That's
How many episodes are there?
It's like 8. It's only like 8 episodes.
Okay.
So they're gonna put out the season finale next week, and that might actually be the series finale for all we know. It should be. That show's terrible. Like, just cut it. Don't even acknowledge it in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Don't. It never happened. That's how I feel anyway. It never happened. Just get rid of it. Which sucks because they're really cool characters and they just wasted them.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say if they want, because originally there was gonna be a movie, so just come out with the movie anyway and just recast everything and just ignore the show because it's that terrible.
So if they were gonna do the movie, is it going to be with the same cast, or what was the plan for that?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay.
The original cast, when there was going to be a movie still, Vin Diesel was going to play Black Bolt. He was already signed up, ready to go, and they just said they were like, well, we're not going to do a movie. We're going to make a TV show now. So he dropped out. I say just screw it and say, hey, hit him up again. Hey, we're going to do a movie again. Forget the show existed. We're just going to forget it, which I think they should. It's that bad. Just forget it. Don't reference it at all. Just pretend it never happened.
I wonder what happened there though. Like they do a pretty good job with Agents of Shield, and this is ABC Disney, right? Like,
yeah.
I wonder what happened with this one.
I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. Like, the showrunner's junk. I know that. His name is Scott Buck. He did Iron Fist.
Okay.
Yeah, and then he also took over Dexter, the second half of Dexter, when Dexter got really bad.
Man.
So you saw that stuff?
Yeah.
That was him.
After season 4, it went downhill very quickly.
Yeah, no, that was him. So, so I don't know how the guy kept getting work. I'm gonna put him solely at fault. And I also heard one of the directors of the show said that they wanted, or not Marvel, but the showrunners wanted the show done fast and cheap. And it's like, why you do that? Mm-hmm. Like you everything you do is at a certain level. Why would you even like if you can't hit that level, why even make it?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really don't know what the heck happened. Like, were they forced to make it? I have no clue. I just hope they learned their lesson.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look, you guys messed up Iron Fist. That's strike 1. Here's strike 2. Don't fuck up. Keep everything quality. So.
Yeah. Like, the first thing I saw, without watching a single episode of Inhumans, was the background. It's just so bare,
Yeah.
Like a play almost, just a couple of furniture in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, it's supposed to be this, like, super advanced city, alien city, and it's just, like, gray walls. Like, I don't know how that's it. I don't know how that looks like royalty and stuff. And then they did a lot of cheap things to get around effects. Like, they cut off Medusa's hair in episode 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just buzz her head. Lockjaw the dog, they like drug him and they hide him in a room for like 3 or 4 episodes, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And then so they left the other characters who their powers don't need effects. They kind of take over, and then Black Bolt, they haven't even shown his power yet. It's been 7 episodes and they haven't shown it. Yeah. So I'm just like, dude, they cut corners like a motherfucker. So once they buzzed Medusa's hair, I was like, okay, I see what they're doing. They're not even gonna try.
Right.
And then if you go with the comics, is you can't do that. Her hair is like steel. That's what makes it so strong. Okay. It's like it's steel. She controls. Her hair is steel. Steel like strength. And so a hair, and then they use like a regular hair clipper. Like that would not work. It would just hit it and just explode. And then Black Bolt too. They nerfed him. He's up there with Thor and Hulk level power, and they didn't do that. He's just a normal dude who has a sonic boom type voice, and they haven't even done that yet. So it's shit. It's just a crappy show. I hope they're embarrassed. I actually read an article the other day. Someone they had some show, like an award show or something, and they asked Jeff Loeb and another guy who are like the head producers at ABC for Marvel, and they asked him why is Inhumans so bad, and they just walked away. They just turned around and walked away. They didn't answer the question. They were like, nope, we're not answering that. I'm like, man, you guys. So they know they fucked up. So I would say check out Gifted, but just ignore Inhumans. Yeah, so I don't think I have anything else for the Thor podcast. You got anything else you want to throw in there?
No, that's it. I mean, we went sidetracked a little bit, but I think we covered some pretty good stuff. Yeah.
So I check it out. It's a great movie. Everyone I know seen it, loved it. So I give it 3 thumbs up. Check it out. Yeah, man. I do 3.
Where's your third thumb?
I don't know. Yeah, so that's it for us today. We'll be back soon. Got some other stuff to cover, so that's it for me. See you later, guys.